Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome to another bill search. Sorry for the hiatus, I lied. In the last video, like 3 weeks ago, I was like, man, I'm gonna pump them out over the next weeks, get back to the normal schedule, and then life happened, and here we are like a month later. But for reals this time, I have quite a few videos that I've already shot that are more informational videos, some updates on pricing and stuff like that, and I will have those out over the next kind of regularly scheduled days over the next few weeks. But without further ado, let's jump to a bill search. Bill search, what are we talking about? We're going through my pocket change over the last week or so. It is a mix of bills, both beat up, not so beat up, but they're all circulated. We're going to look for fancy serial numbers, errors in the note, print errors, stuff like that, as well as stuff that I just think is cool and collectible. Let's go. So, serial number first. It is kind of cool. It's a broken ladder, kinda. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 5s. To me, not collectible, but to you, if it is, awesome. But something to keep an eye out for is broken ladders. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is what we would have been looking for here, but not so much. Beat up $5 note from Series 2013. In the early 2000s, they redesigned 5s. They just did graphics enhancements and some anti-counterfeiting measures, which is like a little constellation called Orion, and some changes in the ink, as well as some color-changing ink that is in the background of the front and in this 5. So, there's some other anti-counterfeiting measures. You can watch my video on anti-counterfeiting measures if that is something you want to watch. Beat up. Definitely been wet before, also losing a lot of its ink integrity from just being handled, so nothing there. $1 note, Series 2017. Only difference in this one and one from 60, 70 years ago almost is the signatures at the bottom. They have not redesigned $1 bills in forever, other than adding on the back of the note, and since there's nothing on the front there. In God We Trust. I believe in 1957, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong there. Little bit of a wet ink transfer. It looks like it's a thumbprint, but it's a transfer of ink from the other bill that sat below this one in the stack. Nothing crazy. I like to look where the seals are. This guy here and this, front and back of the seals, but nothing's jumping out. Next bill, another $1 bill, Series 2013. A lot of the time on 2013 and somewhat on 2017, you'll see over inks on like the third and or fourth digit, generally the third. And it's generally in both serial numbers. It happens so often that I wouldn't consider it really an error. However, I have kept a couple in previous videos that were like really, really, really over inked. In that case, it was like actually almost obscuring or touching other numbers around it or into the kind of blank areas above and below the serial number. So I was like, okay, cool. I can hold on to that. Nothing on the front there. And nothing on the back. Nice folded up $1 note. Kind of a cool repetition of 3s and 7s in the middle. A little bit of a shift in the seal and serial number. You can usually tell by the seal. It's usually supposed to sit more centralized than that, where the middle right of the circle is touching the kind of chevron center of the E. But other than that, 2017 series, so a little newer than that previous bill, but just as beat up. And nothing jumping out on the reverse of the note. Probably the best condition bill so far, 2017 A, $20 banknote. And nothing really jumping out. Nice and clean, though, as far as print and condition. Let's look at the back. Sometimes you'll get some over-inking that kind of strays off over here. Don't confuse it with the serial number that's right here from the front of the note that you can see sometimes. I'm more referring to these trees when they're printed. Sometimes ink will find its way like all the way out here, especially on the right side of the note, which is hard to see because it's blurry. The right side of the note, if it's obscuring these 20s, then you got yourself an ink error. I would hold on to that. Man, more repetitious 3s there. Series 2017, really, really beat up. This one's already almost at the end of its life, even though it's a 2017 note with how beat up it is. But, you know, this gives an ode to the printing process for U.S. Federal Reserve notes in general. It's a three-phase printing process, and that's why when you see notes really beat up as far as the graphics portions of the notes, but the seals, the Federal Reserve Bank seal and the Department of the Treasury seal, as well as the serial numbers, are still like nice and vibrant. That's because they're printed in Toglio, and they're printed within the bill, as opposed to the graphics printed on the surfaces of the note, both on the front and the reverse. So that's just kind of information there as to why they age like that. There it is, that super over-inked third digit from the left, like I mentioned earlier. We also got a shift in the seal here, and serial number. So this one's got a couple little minor things going on. Series 2013 note, like I mentioned, there it is. Happens usually on both serial numbers. So I'm going to hold on to that, even though it's not like an error, but just as a reference point. It's also got a small shift, but it's within acceptable bounds of where the shift is. But I'm just going to set it aside to use in later videos when I'm talking about that, to just go, hey, this is what I'm talking about. Hey, a sweet STARNOTE. Okay, cool. So, centered really well. Serial number centered. Really nice, I think, serial number as well. 000-27700. I wouldn't call that a low serial number. I generally, like, rule of thumb for me is if it doesn't have 4 or more zeros in the beginning, it's not low. But a STARNOTE, it's a replacement note. Something happened to the original in the production process, and they replaced it with this replacement note. And they showed that by annotating it with a star at the end of the serial number. Nothing jumping out as far as errors or anything, but I love me some STARNOTEs, and this one's got kind of a cool serial number, being only 3 digits, realistically. And on the back, kind of more beat up on the back. But still really cool. I'm going to hold on to that as a nice little STARNOTE find. Almost a broken ladder. Almost. If we would have dropped this 8 and had a 3, we would have had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that would have been, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, something to keep an eye out for. Aside from that, nothing jumping out. And nothing on the back. Last but not least, Series 2017 $1 note. Pretty centered as far as printing. Real clean note. Probably the best condition $1 note, I think, in this bill search. Kind of cool repetition. I wish that 0 wasn't in there, or it was 5544 and then 2 of the same number and then 33. That would have been awesome. And then I would have definitely held on to that as a repeater note. But unfortunately, this one was just 1 digit shy of that. Aside from that, let's take a gander at the back. Really clean print. I don't see anything. I like to check out mainly around the leaf cluster and arrows that are in the eagle's talons. There's a lot of repetitious odes to the number 13 for the United States in the depictions on the seals. But right there is a good spot that sometimes you'll see some blurring of lines, as well as below the pyramid with the Roman numerals for 1776. Sometimes you get a little misprint there, but not in this case. So what do we hold on to? We held on to just a good example of that repetitious over ink, but I won't talk about that. Not super important. And then if you watch any of my videos, you know I love me some STARNOTEs. This is a really cool one with a really neat serial number. I'm really glad we found it when we took a big hiatus from bill searching. But most importantly, let me know what you have come across in your coin and bill searches lately in the comments below. And if you want any free price guide and information, PDFs, or just articles to read, we have hundreds and hundreds of them on VarietyErrors.com. I will see you in the comments, and I will catch you in the next video. See you later.